Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to another video. So, today I'll be talking about my San Antonio Spurs. I'll be giving my mid-season 2019 Spurs awards. So, in these my Spurs awards, I'll be giving my top three rankings for each individual or team award. I'll be doing most improved player, sixth man, best free agency / trade acquisition, best individual performance, best young player, which will be under 26, defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, best game of the season, and of course the MVP. So I'll be starting with most improved player of the year. Well, of half the year, I suppose. So for number 3, I'll be going with Mr. Davis Bertans. So, Davis Bertans has had a pretty solid season so far. In the beginning of the season, he was not getting many minutes, and he was being underplayed in my opinion. I thought he should have been a starter at the beginning of the season, but he has certainly played himself into starter minutes, coming off the bench as our sixth man. And really, last year he didn't get much minutes, honestly. He was there. He didn't get a lot of minutes because his defense was not there. He could not rebound. And offensively, it was just threes. I mean, now he has the ability to... He has improved the ability to put the ball on the floor, go past guys, drive to the rim a little bit, hit little jumpers if they run off the line. And he has very much improved his defense. I think it's been pretty solid this year. And rebounding is still not quite there, but I mean, with Aldridge and Pirtle and Gasol out there, he has been very solid. So number 2 for most improved, I have Derek White. So for Derek White, I considered him going number 1, but I decided to go with him as as number 2 because, well, last year he was in the G League. But he showed a lot of potential. I think he averaged around 20 points. And he led the team to the G League championship. And for my mind, he's already a pretty good player. So, in my view, playing the way he did is not too surprising. It's surprising how well he has been so soon, because he has really become the 3rd best player on the team. But I don't think he's the most improved. And because I already had pretty high expectations for him coming out of having a pretty dominant G League season. And he's lived up to the hype, and I love it. But for number 1, my most improved player of the year is Bryn Forbes. So, I picked Bryn Forbes because last year, he did not play a lot. He barely played. He was really... He was kind of like a Bertans situation. He was a 3-point shooter. And he can shoot the heck out of the ball. But he didn't really have a lot of other facets in his game. And it really surprised me and a lot of other Spurs fans when he was re-signed for 2 years. But that turned out to be a hell of a move. He has, with injuries to Murray and White to begin the season, he has become the starting point guard. And he's been top 15 3-point efficiency all year long. He's been a decent point guard distributor for the team, even though DeRozan is really... That's what he's really been good at for us. But for going from a scrub bench player in most people's minds to being probably your most consistent starter and a top 5, top 6 player on the team. So to go from like the last guy on the roster to be a starter is sensational for him. I'm very happy for him. And for me, that's my most improved player because expectations were low and he has by far lived up to the hype. I mean, lived up to the... I mean, he just played sensational, really. But yeah, my 6th man of the year for the Spurs, number 3, will be Mr. Patty Mills. So, for Patty, he has essentially become the leader of the team with Ginobili and Parker and Kawhi and Dan Green departing. in the offseason. He and Aldridge are taking out in that leadership position, and they've done a hell of a job. But his play has been pretty good. It's been consistent, for most of the part consistent. His shooting's been there all season, and he just brings that energy off the bench that you really can't match. As a bench player, he's been sensational for us. I know he gets a lot of hate for his pretty bad contract, but I mean, not everything's in the stats and his numbers and all that. Yeah, you have to watch the games. You gotta look at what behind the scenes, what he means to the team. He is the leader, and he has had that presence on the court. He'll hit those threes, and he's just a playmaker. He'll make big plays. I believe in him. Third, sixth man of the year. Number 2, I'm going with Marco Bellinelli. Welcome back to the Spurs, Mr. Marco. And he has been sensational. Really, I was really surprised by this move, but I absolutely loved it. Because really, when he was with the Spurs in 2014 and years past, he was one of my favorite players to watch. I mean, how he shoots it, drifting left, drifting right, so much fun to watch. And really, Marco, in the beginning of the season, he slumped a bit with the new team. He was not clicking just right just yet. But when the whole team started going on a little streak, he was on fire. I think he had like 3 or 4 straight 20-point games in January. Pretty good. And he's been that engine off the bench along with Patty Mills. I read this Penny the Rock article. Well, really, Marco Bellinelli is the chaos off the bench, while Patty Mills sort of is the leader of the chaos. You know, like he starts the chaos, and Marco just there to be the chaos. And I love that. They have together is a great partnership. It's been awesome. But number 1, I mentioned him earlier. It's Davis Bertans as my 6th man of the year. And really, wow, the strides he has made from last season to this season, he's our 6th man, and he could be a starter in this league. That's how good he really is. Number 1, 3-point efficiency, hell of a shooter. Defense is solid. And I mean, he's just become that guy where I trust him down the stretch of the game. He's been hitting big shots all season long. Even from game 1, he hit a big 3, had a nice pass, got a nice assist to DeMar DeRozan in game 1 of the season, and he has been sensational. He's easily 6th man of the year in my mind because he's been consistent all the way, and even though he didn't get minutes in the beginning of the season, he's really played himself into our 6th man. He's been sensational. Should have been in a 3-point contest, but that's a discussion for another day. So next, award the best free agency / trade acquisition. Number 3, I have Jakob Poeltl from Toronto, who we acquired in the big blockbuster trade. And Poeltl is really seen as the low point of the trade, because like obviously we know DeRozan and Kawhi are the stars. We get that pick, Danny Green. And we all know what he can do. His intangibles, his 3-point shooting, he's beloved in San Antonio. And he has earned the respect of a lot of people in the league. But Poeltl, it's a young gun, part of that Raptors bench mob. Expectations are not too high. I expected him to be a starter to start the season. And he was, but he didn't play starters minutes. And really, it took Gasol getting injured for him to really get big minutes, and he has played sensational in those minutes. I think we should be going back to him, because really, he provided solid defense, rebounds hard, rolls hard, scores up the rim, good chemistry with Patty and DeRozan. And honestly, Gasol's essentially washed up now. I trust Jakob very much so, even though he doesn't have a perimeter shot, he doesn't really need one. And he's been very good. Obviously, he has ended up being the low point of the trade because how the season started, and how it's gone ever since Gasol came back. But Pop, don't kid yourself. Pirtle is the future. Gasol doesn't deserve any minutes anymore. He's not that guy anymore. Let Pirtle keep going. He's been good. Number 2, I talked about him already, Marco Bellinelli. The chaos, he has been sensational. Has really had the ability to spark the team off the bench along with Patty Mills. A great acquisition. I don't particularly love his contract, but I do love him, and he's had a very good season. So that's easy for me, number 2. And number 1, who else but DeMar DeRozan? And honestly, I won't get too in depth into DeMar DeRozan right now, but we all know he's the star, averaging 21 points per game, 6 assists. And take away January, I thought he should have been our All-Star in the All-Star game. Not to take away from Aldridge, because he's been great. But take away January, DeRozan has really been the star of the team, the closer, the finisher, guy who gets everyone involved and still has the ability to score 20 points. As a distributor with the team, he's been what Kawhi really never was. Even though his defense isn't great and all that, and he's not putting up 27 like Kawhi is doing up in Toronto. But the ability to find players, distribute the ball, get everyone involved has been very good. Although I do think he should get back from that and go back to more traditional scoring, because 21 points, although it's pretty good, we'll need more from him down the stretch of the game, and down the stretch of the season, and especially in the playoffs. But number 1, free agency / trade acquisition, DeMar DeRozan. Now, best individual game performance. Number 3, I will go with DeRozan versus the Mavericks. In this game, he was able to put up 34 points, which was I believe it was his Spurs high at the time for scoring. And I mean, he was everywhere this game. He was incredible down the stretch of the game when we needed him the most. Actually played pretty solid defense. In that fourth quarter, he was big, keeping us in it, keeping it close, just fighting. He has that kind of dog in him that I saw that game. And I was at this game, so I could feel the energy from him. And to finish fourth quarter, he missed a wide open shot to win the game, as he's done really his whole career in Toronto. But fourth quarter, in overtime, he did what he has not been able to do as a Raptor. He overcame that missed shot and made all the big plays, all the big shots in overtime. And in the end, he had the incredible game winner over Wesley Matthews. Not game winner, but to ice the game, essentially, because it was a 3-point lead at the time, and he put it up by 5. So, this might not be his most high-profile game, right? Whatever. But after this game, I had full trust in DeMar DeRozan. Now, number 2, I'm going with that man again, DeRozan, versus his former team in Toronto. Obviously, we all saw this game, the Kawhi return game. And although a lot of the media attention was towards the booing, no one noticed how well DeRozan has been playing up to this point. And he put the NBA and the city of Toronto and Mr. Masai Ujiri, who traded him, on notice, dropping a triple-double, his first of his career, something he never did with Toronto. And it was a great story. It was awesome to watch. He was absolutely everywhere and outplayed Kawhi to a pulp, really. He was sensational. And that was an easy pick for me, because even though, yes, the whole team was on fire, he only scored 21 points. But grabbing that triple-double, making the biggest plays down the stretch, he was huge. And he really started the game off. And he's made plays all game, sensational plays. I watch the highlights of that game every once in a while when I'm feeling a little down. This man has been sensational. Now, number 1 for best individual performance of the season so far, LaMarcus Aldridge versus Oklahoma City Thunder. In the game of the year, dropping 56 points, career high. I believe that's all I need to say for LaMarcus Aldridge. Because he made every big play. When we needed him the most, he was there. I don't know why Pop went with a slumping DeRozan to try to hit that game winner in fourth quarter and in the first overtime period, because he missed both of them. Aldridge served a shot there, but essentially in the fourth quarter, in those two overtimes, the offense ran through him. And he dropped 56 points, his career high. I mean, in the game of the year, he was the best player out there. Even though, yes, George was good, and Russell Westbrook was sensational with a 23 point, 23 assist triple double, something ridiculous. But dropping 56, doing what he did, just dominating down low, has really been his signature performance, or maybe of his career, dropping 56. So that was an easy pick for me. So best young player of the season, under 26 years of age. Number 3, Davis Bertans. I already talked about him, 3-point shooting, his offensive proficiency. And really, this was a pretty simple pick for me. I mean, if he was a starter, he might even get number 1. But number 3, I'm okay with that. And he did start off the season not great, not playing a lot of minutes. But as I've said, he's played himself into starter-esque minutes. He's number 3 for best young player in my list. Number 2, I have Bryn Forbes, Mr. Consistent. And we know what he's done all season long, bringing that 3-point shooting, top 15 3-point efficiency, as I said before. He's been very good. I'm not talking when I say he's been excellent shooting the ball. He's made big plays all season long. Keep it going, young man. You're playing yourself into a hell of a contract. Your current contract will expire. Keep it up. And number 1, another simple pick, easy pick for me. I have Derek White. No, excuse me, but for Derek White, in my mind, he has become our 3rd best player, our best defender, best distributor outside of DeRozan. And he's been able to take a lot of load off of DeRozan with his assisting numbers and finding Aldridge and finding all those shooters, all our guys. And really, we know his story. I already did a video on him, so I won't go too in depth. But for me, it's easy. He's top 3 player on the team. Without him, with him, we could be anyone in the playoff series, even Golden State if everything comes together. Though that would be tough David Goliath situation, but not impossible. But without him, we lose 4 straight. We were 14th in the West, and we're just looking bad. So he has been sensational. I love him, and how good he's been, so young, so soon, has been great. I think he's 24, 25. It's been awesome. I hope he continues his great play when he comes back from injury. Now, Defensive Player of the Year. This one was a tough one for me because San Antonio has a very bad defensive numbers. Really, this has been our worst defensive season in 20-ish years. But honorable mention, I'm going with Bertans and LaMarcus Aldridge. They've been pretty good all season long. Not lockdown defenders by any stretch of the imagination, but pretty solid. Number 3, Jakob Poeltl. He's been solid defending the rim, rebounding. He can switch on to smaller guards, though I would not suggest that he does that, but he's been solid at that all season long. Honestly, I thought about putting Aldridge at 3, but I went with Poeltl because I feel like he's been a bit more consistent in that regard. But either way, I have Poeltl at 3. Number 2, though he doesn't play much anymore, Dante Cunningham. Beginning of the season, he was easily our best defender. Guarded LeBron and guarded him pretty damn well, I would like to add. So yeah, he was just really there for 3 and D. And now, I mean, now that Bertans has played him out of the rotation, he's not getting those minutes anymore. But if we need him, he can come out there and just bring a little energy, a little defense, little grit and grind from from what he can do, his ability on the defensive end of the floor, and he's been solid in that regard. He's been a surprise there. Now, number one, another simple pick for me, Derek White. Again, I think this is like probably his second or third award that I'm giving him here. But yeah, I'm going with Derek here. As our best defender, he has guarded from Kyrie to Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi, Mike Conley. A lot of superstars he has had to defend. And he's done a hell of a job. His defense has been a lot better than advertised. And really, he could... I mean, I don't think he will, but he's really in the argument for the best defender on the team outside of DeJounte Murray, who obviously went down with that torn ACL. Prayers for him again. But yeah, easy pick for me here, Derek White. Now I'm going with my offensive player of the year. Number 3, I haven't talked about him yet, but he has been sensational as a starter now. Mr. Rudy Gay, hands. Congratulations to him coming back from that torn Achilles, which is a terrible injury, man. Last year he was up and down. We needed him most. And really, he was injured a lot. He missed like a month, maybe more. And really, yeah, he's injury prone now. Injury prone. He'll miss 10 to 20 games every year, most likely. But when he's out there playing, he changes the whole complexion of the team for us. Because he's a solid defender. And he's been a solid 3-point shooter next to DeRozan and Aldridge, and easily third best offensive player on the team. Now, obviously, for number 2 positions, it was a little tough for me, but I mean, it's the stars. And number 2, I went with DeRozan. Now, DeRozan would probably get it, but he's only averaging 21 points per game. I mean, Aldridge also averaging 21 points. But I went with Aldridge ahead of him, because really, he hasn't had those big explosion numbers we've seen in the past from DeRozan. Because he's been out there facilitating, distributing the ball. So he's not putting up as big of numbers as he may have put up in Toronto. But, I mean, he's been our star. He slumped the last month, as I said before. Besides that, sensational. Now, I went with Aldridge here because he slumped early in the season, but he's really picked it up and he's been unstoppable. He's played himself into an all-star selection over DeRozan, which I would have gone with DeMar if you saw my all-star picks video. I went with DeRozan, in my opinion. But Aldridge, he's been sensational. Obviously, talk about his 56-point game. He's also averaging 21 a game, which is around his average, really. And then he's been awesome. I mean, last season, he's really carried us down the stretch of the season. And he's done a hell of a job. Congrats to him again. Now, best game of the season. As we approach the 2 final awards, this video has been a bit long, but I think it's worth it. Number 3, Spurs versus Raptors. This was our big demolition of the Raptors in their return, and Kawhi and Danny Green's return to San Antonio. We beat him 125 to 107. It was just awesome to see. Just watching Kawhi come back and struggle, get outplayed by DeRozan and Aldridge. I mean, DeMar talked about it, but dropping a triple-double. Everyone on fire. Lonnie Walker making his NBA debut, hitting that nice 3. And that was just an incredible night for us. Even though it wasn't a close game, not a very exciting game. But for me, this was a hell of a game for us. This was a big building block. And it showed DeMar's growth as a Spur with his distributing, but also dropping, I believe it was around his average 22, 21 points. Well, number 2, a pretty early game of the season, but Spurs at Lakers. He beat them 143 to 142 in overtime in LA. And if you don't remember, this was a game where we almost closed it out in regulation. But Lakers did back-to-back threes with Josh Hart, I believe, hitting the first and LeBron hitting a deep three to send it to overtime. And overtime, it almost got away from us. Lakers made a bunch of incredible plays, and they had a really nice game. Did LA and LeBron, but in the end, the difference was a really good play call. They got Patty Mills open for a game-winning jumper, and it was awesome seeing Patty hit a game winner. So that's my second game of the year. Now for number one, I went with the game of the season, if in my opinion, Spurs vs Thunder. It's a thriller all the way. 154 to 147 double overtime win. Aldridge shots 56. White got 23. Westbrook put up 23 assists, triple double. Paul George was balling. Double overtime thriller. This one was pretty easy, hitting her first 14 threes. Very enjoyable game, and so happy you came out with the win there. Now for my last category, as I said, this video has been long, but I believe it's worth it. The MVP of the season, the big award for my Spurs. Number 3, I went with Derek White. I already talked about him a couple of times, and for me, it was pretty easy for me. As I said, he's played himself into the third best player in the team. Really the most important player outside of DeRozan and LA. So I'm going with Derek. I mean, you can make the argument for Rudy Gay, how he's played, how he's scored, even though, yes, White has missed a lot of games. But Derek is a difference maker, as I've said before. With him, we can make a serious run at Golden State in the playoffs. Without him, we get nowhere. We're 14th in the West, as you remember. And number 2, LaMarcus Aldridge. So obviously my MVP is this man, Mr. DeMar DeRozan. And yeah, looking at this, Aldridge has slumped for 2-ish months. DeRozan slumped for 1, even though DeRozan's slump has been worse than Aldridge's. But Aldridge is back. He's playing sensational. I went with DeRozan over Aldridge because DeRozan has made everyone better. He's had more signature moments, even though Aldridge did have that 56-point night. DeRozan has been our closer, clutch down this stretch of the season. Really, again, take away that January month, he's been our MVP. So I went with him over Aldridge, even though Aldridge got the All-Star selection. I think it deserved to be DeMar DeRozan. And now that he's rested, I think he'll drop a 50-point night against a Raptor, so a bit of a bold prediction there on Friday. But yeah, those are my Spurs mid-season awards. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a long video and it's a little late, but I appreciate it. Appreciate the support, and go Spurs go. Thank you for watching.